Welcome to this week's edition of Coach Prep. Not with Coach Don this week, as mentioned on Wednesday's edition of Everything Fast Pitch. With some schedules and things going on, I'm flying solo this week. We're going to have a really good Coach Prep segment for you today. We're going to talk about making useful mound visits and making sure that you have a plan of attack when you go to the mound to talk to your pitcher during the game. Before we do that, let's talk about our sponsors. First, the Anderson Bat Company.
Everything Fast Pitch is very proud to have Anderson Bat Company as our presenting sponsor. Anderson Bat Company is using the latest and greatest bat technology to corner the market in the fast pitch world. They have the -9 Rocket Tech, the -10 Carbon, and the -11 Carbon Light. Anderson Bat Company is using this technology to put a high-performing bat in the hands of hitters that really know the difference between a good bat and a great bat. We're also working with Anderson to provide a discount for all of our listeners. Go to the Anderson Bat Company website and order your bats. Use the EFP20 discount, which is for everything fast pitch, and you'll get a 20% discount. It's a great way for you to save a little bit of money on a great bat and also help support everything fast pitch at the same time.
And again, let's talk about patreon.com/everythingfastpitch. If you're in a position where you can help support us, if you see value in what we're doing, Coach Don and I really do appreciate the patron support that we have. We've got a great group of patrons that have kept Everything Fast Pitch and Coach Prep alive to this point. But we would certainly love to add some more people to the list of patrons. So if you're in a position where you can help us, go to patreon.com/everythingfastpitch. There's 3 different levels of monthly support. You go ahead and fill out the paperwork and get started. And as always, we certainly do appreciate all our patrons and would love to add some new people. So we've all sat in that dugout watching our pitcher out there working her tail off, trying to do everything she can to help us win a game. And during the course of the game, sometimes things go great. Everything's just cruising right along. She's in a groove. Game is just coming to her, and it's a very strong, very easy atmosphere to be in. But there's other times where things don't go quite to schedule, when things don't go quite to plan. And we have to be able to interject. We have to be able to come out to the mound and offer some words of advice, offer some words of inspiration, whatever it might be, to help our pitcher and our team continue to play well. So the first thing I want to talk about is making sure that we've already planned out and thought out kind of a strategy, approach that we're going to take with each pitcher on our staff. Depending upon your team, you might have 1, 2, 3, 4 pitchers, and every one of those pitchers is going to be responding differently when the pressure's on. You have some kids that tense up a little bit, that really do struggle when it feels like the pressure starts to mount. You have other kids that are very loose and play the game very freely, and the pressure doesn't seem to really impact them at all. It might be that, there was an error behind them or a bad call on the field or whatever it might be leads to your needing to make a visit to the mound and going out there to talk to your pitcher. But the first thought, as I said earlier, is each one of your pitchers is going to be different. And so we want to know before we make that first trip out there, if this is the player that might need a little pumping up, if this is the player that might need a little kick in the butt, if this is the player that might need a pat on the back, we should already know that before we walk out there. So obviously we've kind of rehearsed in our mind if something is happening in the game and, pitcher A or pitcher B or pitcher C is the one that's pitching at that point in time, I already have a pretty good idea of what approach I'm going to be taking and what I'm already thinking about before I make that first mound visit. Once we've figured out our strategy based on the personality and the demeanor of the pitcher that we're working with. Second thing is, obviously, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, there's about 1,000 different things that could lead to us needing to go out and talk to the pitcher. One could be that she is just flat out struggling. Maybe she's struggling to find her release point. Maybe she's struggling with finding the strike zone that day. So there could be certain times that we're going out there specifically to talk to the pitcher about what she needs to do to have more success. And again, this should be framed in your understanding of what that pitcher probably needs. If she needs a kick in the butt, if she needs a pat on the back, depending upon the age and the skill level, it might be something mechanical. It might be an adjustment. It might even be something as simple as, trying to help her, find a better rhythm, maybe to get in a better rhythm with the catcher and, find a smoother way to approach her business that day. So there's lots of different things that could lead to you needing to go out there that are pitcher-based. And again, if it's something mechanical, something technical that needs to be adjusted, we want to get to the point. We want to do everything we can to make those connections and to do everything we can to deliver a clear message that's going to help the pitcher get back on track. The second thing that could end up being part of the reason why we want to make a mound visit is, as I said earlier, something's gone wrong with our defense. We've made a bad error, made a bad mental mistake, something like that. Again, depending upon our pitcher's demeanor and our pitcher's attitude, it might be that she needs to be calmed down. It might mean that she needs to have that pat on the back. It might be 100 different options of exactly what you need to say. But if the team is struggling, if we've made some mistakes, if we're not playing well defensively, then it's okay to again make the trip to the mound. In that situation, I think your purpose is twofold. One is obviously to make sure that the pitcher is supported and on board with what you've got going on and understands the situation that's coming up next. It also might be a way to make sure that you get a chance to talk with your defense about what the possibilities are, what the play could be. It might be that they need a kick in the butt or a little bit of focusing to help them kind of get their minds right. It could be, again, for every team and every situation, there's going to be hundreds and hundreds of options. But if I'm making that trip to the mound, I've got to have already figured out what's the agenda while I'm walking out there. And hopefully it's something that's going to be productive and allowing us to move forward with a better plan for the next play. I know we've all fallen into the trap of we go out there to vent our frustration, to let them know how frustrated and disappointed and angry we are with the mistakes that they've made or the errors that they've made. But I think we want to make sure that we're planning ahead and coming up with a plan of attack to avoid that as much as possible. I don't think there's any likelihood, and again, this is the pot calling the kettle black. The number of times that I went out to the mound to show everybody how frustrated I was or how disappointed I was or how angry I was because of something that we had done is too many to count. But again, being wiser and hopefully helping you not do the same dumb stuff that I've done in my career, let's understand that what has happened, and going out to the mound mid-game to air somebody out, to get after them, to kick them in the butt is not necessarily going to be the best way to resolve it, to make it better. And again, our goal should be when we make that mound visit to be thinking about, one, solving the problem, whatever it is, and two, moving forward in a positive mindset. And so, again, for our players, it's up to us to have that thought out already. And again, we all have different personalities. Just like we talked about, we need to know the personality and the demeanor of our pitcher and our team. Obviously for us as coaches, we need to kind of play to our strengths, but we also need to be aware of what our weaknesses are. And if my weakness is I'm going to go out there and be mad because we're not playing well and think that just because I'm mad that's going to solve the problem, I'm probably missing the boat a little bit. Third thing that we want to think about is that we could be struggling with an umpire or umpire strike zone on a particular day. The challenge is we're all frustrated. The pitcher's frustrated, the coaches are frustrated, the team's frustrated. But again, we have two options. One, we can go out there and add to the frustration and be one more log on the fire of flaming up the aggravation and frustration, or we can try to figure out how to work through that situation. And again, pot calling the kettle black again. The number of times that I would go out to the mound just to wait for the umpire to come out to tell me, Coach, it's time to end this discussion and start playing, just so I'd have a chance to talk to or yell at or be mad at the umpire when they made the trip out to try to move things along. Again, more than I can count, and obviously more than I wish I had to admit to. Our plan should be when we make that trip, if we're struggling with the strike zone, is not to make it feel more hopeless for the pitcher. We don't want to be out there going, well, I don't know what the heck you're supposed to do with this umpire. I don't know what this umpire strike zone is. There's no way we're going to figure this out. That's never going to solve any of the problems. It's just going to make it about 1,000,000% worse. The idea has to be, if the umpire is struggling to call a specific pitch or part of the zone that your pitcher likes to pitch to, then we have to be looking at options, looking at changes that they can make in their strategy and their game plan to try to do something a little bit different. It's also important that we kind of keep our pitchers grounded. If they've been struggling, let's say you've got that pitcher that wants to be frustrated because there's certain pitches that just get missed. She's right on the corner and she thinks it's a strike and the umpire doesn't. Well, if she's consistently hitting her spots and the ball's right where she wants it to be consistently, that's one argument. But if she's bouncing every other pitch up there, throwing pitches halfway up the backstop, and then throws one pitch that's just off the corner, sometimes they need to be kind of reminded that it's on them to do a little bit better job of being a little bit more consistent to kind of help the umpire out too. So there's lots of different reasons why that mound visit is important, but having a plan, having it thought out, knowing what it is you're trying to accomplish when you get there has got to be our number one priority for all of us as coaches. If we're just going out there in a frustrated, angry, I'm going to vent mindset, I don't think we're going to get much accomplished that's going to help make things better. And obviously, again, as we said before a couple of different times, our goal has to be how is this mound visit, how is this trip to the mound going to make things better for my pitcher, better for my team, and give us a better chance to be successful. A couple of little things about planning ahead, thinking about what it is that you're supposed to do to help your specific pitcher and your team in these different specific situations, I think is going to go a long, long way towards making these mound visits very, very productive. And again, just walking out there with no idea what you're going to say, walking out there just because you're mad, just because you're frustrated, walking out there just to let everybody see how frustrated and disappointed or whatever it might be you are at that moment in time is probably not the successful plan that we want to have moving forward. So hopefully, coaches, that'll give you something to think about. We've all been there. We're all going to be there quite often. It's one of those things that if you go to the ballpark to coach a game and you never make a trip to the mound, you should be really happy because that was a pretty good day and hopefully a day that we all get to have more of. But that's going to wrap up this edition of Coach Prep. Coach Don and I will be back together next week for the normal routine again. And so we'll be looking forward to the two of us working together at the Cherokee Batting Range podcast studio. As always, please make sure you support Anderson Bat and patreon.com/everythingfastpitch. Go to the fastpitchprep.com website. You can order your Square Cuts training discs there. You have access to the YouTube channel and about 700 blogs with all kinds of information and things for you to think about. So that's going to wrap up this episode of Coach Prep. We'll talk to you again next week.